There was a morning, not too long ago, when I sat in my recliner for over an hour, not because I was reading, not because I was resting, but because I couldn't stand up without help. My legs felt shaky, my back weak, and somewhere deep down, I was scared. There was no pain, no injury, just a sense that my body was quietly slipping away from me. At 72 years old, I thought that was just what happens with age, that maybe I should accept it, sit more, do less, and just hope for the best. But then I learned something that changed everything. Losing muscle after 60 is common, yes, but it's not inevitable. And more importantly, it's reversible. Today, I'm here not as a doctor or expert, but as someone who has been exactly where you are. I want to share with you what I've learned, and more than that, what I've lived. Because getting older doesn't mean getting weaker. Not if we make the right changes at the right time. And it all starts with understanding what our bodies truly need and giving it to them, one small step at a time. Let me tell you how I got stronger, steadier, and more confident with nothing more than simple food, small habits, and a little patience. And if it worked for me, it just might work for you too. Muscle loss is not just aging, it's a warning sign. They say muscle has no age. I used to doubt that, but then I saw a photo that stopped me cold. Two women, both 80 years old. One was hunched over, walking stick in hand, her face drawn with fatigue. The other stood tall, wearing a tank top and athletic pants. You could see the muscles in her arms and even her abdomen. Same age, completely different bodies. That image stayed with me. You see, I had always assumed that muscle just fades as the years go by, that it's a natural part of aging. But I've learned the truth. We don't lose muscle simply because we grow older. We lose it because we stop using it, stop feeding it, and stop paying attention. And the danger? It doesn't come with a warning. Muscle loss happens quietly. No pain, no sudden signs, but slowly it takes away our strength, our balance, and our independence. In fact, I recently read that adults over 60 can lose up to 1/3, yes, 33% of their muscle mass without even realizing it. That's why so many falls happen. That's why simple things like standing from a chair or climbing a few steps begin to feel like a challenge. It's a condition doctors now call sarcopenia. But I don't need a name for it. I just remember how it felt in my own body. Weakness I couldn't explain, and fear I didn't want to admit. But here's the part no one told me. This kind of muscle loss can not only be stopped, it can be reversed. Even in your 70s, even in your 80s, even if you feel like it's too late. Recent research, yes, real studies from places like Harvard Medical School have shown that certain foods contain natural compounds that actually help rebuild muscle. Not just slow the loss, but rebuild what we thought was gone for good. And no, it's not magic. It's not medication. It's food. Real, everyday food. So let me walk you through the 10 foods that helped me turn things around. I started slowly, one change at a time. And within just 1 week, I began to feel steadier on my feet. Within 1 month, I could rise from a chair without bracing myself. And now, I feel stronger than I have in years. We'll begin with something simple, something familiar, something that's probably already in your freezer. 1. Lean beef, more than just protein. I never used to think much about beef. To me, it was just something we had at Sunday dinner. A steak now and then, a pot roast on holidays. But after I learned how much muscle I was losing, I began to look at food differently, not just as comfort, but as fuel. And lean beef, it became one of the most important things I added back into my diet. Why? Because beef isn't just high in protein, it's rich in the kind of protein your body actually needs to rebuild muscle. See, as we get older, our muscles don't hear the protein signal as clearly as they used to. It's like trying to have a conversation through a closed door. The message gets lost. That's where something called leucine comes in. Leucine is a special amino acid that acts like a loudspeaker. It tells your muscles, wake up,
it's time to grow. And lean beef has more leucine per bite than almost any other food. That's why it works better than plant protein if you're trying to build strength again. I started small, just 4 to 6 ounces, 2 or 3 times a week. I chose lean cuts like sirloin or tenderloin, sometimes ground beef, if I drained the fat. And I tried to make it part of a meal with vegetables, not just meat on a plate. One more thing I didn't know until recently. Beef also contains creatine. You might have heard of it in the gym world, but it turns out it's incredibly useful for older folks too. It helps the muscles store energy. When I started eating beef regularly again, I didn't just feel stronger, I had more stamina. And here's something I found helpful. Look for grass-fed beef when you can. It has more omega-3 fats and fewer inflammatory compounds. But even conventional lean beef in reasonable portions can make a noticeable difference. So if you're like I was, hesitant, maybe worried about cholesterol, know this. When eaten mindfully, lean beef can be medicine for your muscles, not in a pill, on a plate. 2. Greek yogurt, nighttime nourishment for daytime strength. I used to end my evenings with a cookie or a piece of toast, something light, something sweet. But I learned the hard way that what you eat before bed matters, especially if you're trying to preserve your strength. That's when I discovered Greek yogurt, not the flavored, sugary kind. I'm talking about plain full-fat Greek yogurt, the kind that's thick, creamy, and packed with protein. The secret in Greek yogurt is something called casein protein. Unlike whey protein, which gets absorbed quickly, casein is slow and steady. It releases amino acids over several hours, perfect for when you're asleep. That's important because muscle breakdown speeds up at night when you're not moving. And unless you give your body a gentle, lasting stream of nutrients, your muscles can slip even while you sleep. I started having a small bowl of Greek yogurt in the evening, just a few spoonfuls. Sometimes I'd stir in a few berries, a dash of cinnamon, or a handful of chopped walnuts. It became part of my routine, comforting, nourishing. And after a few weeks, I noticed that I wasn't waking up as stiff. My legs didn't feel as tired in the mornings. Greek yogurt also does more than feed your muscles. It's rich in calcium and vitamin D, both crucial for strong bones, and it contains probiotics that support a healthy gut, which turns out to be more important for muscle health than I ever realized. A happy gut means better absorption of nutrients, less inflammation, and better overall energy. So now, instead of reaching for something sugary late at night, I reach for a bowl of Greek yogurt. It's become my quiet evening ritual, a small act of self-care that reminds me strength starts in the small choices. 3. Leafy greens, silent builders of strength. I'll admit something to you. I didn't always eat my greens. Growing up, we boiled them to death and they tasted like wet paper. But now, in my 70s, I look at leafy greens very differently. Spinach, kale, Swiss chard, these humble vegetables have become some of my greatest allies. Why? Because they do something incredible. Leafy greens are rich in natural nitrates, which your body converts into nitric oxide. That might sound technical, but here's what it means in plain English. Better blood flow to your muscles. When blood flows more easily, nutrients get where they need to go. Recovery is faster. Cramps are fewer. Energy improves. I started adding 1 or 2 cups of cooked greens to my meals every day, in an omelet, in a soup, even just sautéed with a little olive oil and garlic. Nothing fancy, just consistent. I learned that spinach is packed with magnesium, which helps your muscles contract properly. Low magnesium was part of the reason I had those stubborn leg cramps at night. Once I started eating greens regularly, those cramps nearly disappeared. Kale and chard also offer vitamin K, which helps the body use protein more effectively and keeps both muscles and bones strong. I used to think vitamins were just something in pills, but now I know. Real food is the original supplement. If fresh greens feel like too much work, pre-washed bags make it easier. I sometimes buy frozen spinach and toss it into a soup or casserole. The point is not to be perfect, it's to be steady. And let me tell you, the strength I've regained didn't come from a gym. It came from a kitchen, from greens that used to bore me, but now they keep me on my feet.
4. Olive oil, a fat that fights muscle loss. For a long time, I avoided fats. Like many people from my generation, I was told to fear them. Keep everything low fat. Skip the oils. But what I didn't know was that the right kind of fat doesn't harm your body, it heals it. Olive oil, especially extra virgin olive oil, became one of the quiet heroes in my journey back to strength. I didn't think something as simple as oil could impact muscle health, but it turns out the kind of inflammation that sneaks in with age, the kind that weakens muscles over time, can be gently reduced by the natural compounds in olive oil. There's one compound in particular, oleocanthal, that works similarly to ibuprofen, but without the harsh side effects. It blocks enzymes that break down muscle tissue. And over time, that means less erosion, more preservation, and better recovery. I began using olive oil as my main fat, 2 to 3 tablespoons a day. I drizzled it on steamed vegetables, mixed it into salad dressings, even used it on warm toast with a pinch of sea salt. Simple things, easy to stick with. What surprised me most was this: my energy improved, and my digestion too. Olive oil helps with insulin sensitivity, which means your body uses the protein you eat more effectively. That's especially important as we get older and our systems slow down a bit. The research is clear. Older adults who consistently include olive oil in their diet, especially as part of a Mediterranean-style way of eating, are less likely to become frail over time. So now, instead of avoiding fats, I embrace the good ones. Olive oil isn't just something I cook with, it's something I count on to protect my strength, support my recovery, and remind me that healing doesn't always come in big gestures. Sometimes it's a spoonful at a time.
5. Eggs. A small food with big muscle power. Eggs were one of the first things I loved as a kid, and one of the first I gave up as an adult. Somewhere along the way, we were told that eggs were bad for our hearts. So I avoided the yolks and only ate the whites. But let me tell you something I've learned the long way. The yolk is where the gold is. Eggs are one of the most complete and efficient sources of protein you can eat. One large egg gives you about 6 grams of high-quality protein, and nearly half of that is in the yolk. But it's not just about the protein. The yolk also contains choline, vitamin D, and leucine, nutrients that play key roles in keeping muscles strong and responsive. As we age, our muscles don't listen to protein as well. They need more of certain signals to respond. Leucine, which eggs contain in good amounts, acts like a tap on the shoulder. It says, "Time to build." I started eating 1 or 2 whole eggs each morning, usually boiled or poached. Sometimes I scramble them with spinach or serve them with avocado. Nothing fancy, but I'll say this. I felt the difference within weeks. My legs didn't feel as shaky when I got out of bed. I had more control when walking down steps. One study I came across showed that whole eggs triggered a 40% better muscle building response than egg whites alone. That was all I needed to stop skipping the yolk. And what about cholesterol? The truth is, for most people, eating eggs in moderation, up to 7 per week, does not increase heart risk. In fact, newer research shows it may actually improve the balance between good and bad cholesterol. So now eggs are back on my plate. Affordable, easy to prepare, and packed with what my body truly needs to hold on to the strength I still have and rebuild what I've lost. 6. Fatty fish, omega-3s that strengthen from within. I didn't grow up eating much fish, maybe the occasional tuna sandwich or a fish fry on Fridays. But once I learned what fatty fish could do for aging muscles, I made it a point to include it regularly. And the change it brought surprised me. Salmon, sardines, mackerel. These are not just protein sources. They're packed with omega-3 fatty acids, especially two powerful ones, EPA and DHA. These are not the kind of fats that clog up your system, quite the opposite. They help reduce chronic inflammation, which is one of the hidden drivers behind age-related muscle loss. The magic of fatty fish is twofold. They give your body the materials to rebuild, and they make your muscles more responsive to those materials. In simpler terms, you don't just eat protein, you actually use it better when omega-3s are present. I started eating salmon about twice a week, sometimes grilled, sometimes baked with lemon and herbs. When I couldn't get fresh fish, I'd keep canned sardines or wild-caught tuna on hand. And for days when cooking felt like too much, I took a high-quality fish oil supplement. The results? Not dramatic overnight, but steady. I had less joint pain, less stiffness, and I noticed that I didn't feel as drained after your activity. That's no coincidence. One study showed that older adults who ate fatty fish regularly lost significantly less muscle over 3 years than those who didn't. Another bonus? Fatty fish are rich in vitamin D, something many seniors lack. That vitamin doesn't just help bones, it helps muscles contract and function properly. So if you're feeling stiff, slow, or just not as sturdy as you used to be, adding fatty fish to your routine might be one of the simplest, most powerful steps you can take. I know it was for me. 7. Nuts and seeds. Small snacks, strong muscles. I used to think of nuts as just something you put in a holiday dish or maybe nibbled on during a movie. But now I see them as one of the easiest ways to support muscle health without cooking, prepping, or overthinking. I keep a small jar on my kitchen counter, almonds, walnuts, pumpkin seeds, just a handful a day. That's all it takes. What makes nuts and seeds so powerful is the combination of what they offer. You get a bit of plant-based protein, yes, but more importantly, you get healthy fats, magnesium, zinc, and vitamin E, all of which play a role in keeping muscles healthy, nerves firing properly, and inflammation down. Let's start with magnesium. Most older adults don't get enough, and it's essential for muscle movement and energy production. Low magnesium was a hidden cause of the muscle cramps I used to get at night. Once I started eating almonds daily, about 1/4 cup, the cramps faded. Walnuts bring something called alpha-linolenic acid, a plant-based form of omega-3, which helps keep inflammation under control. Pumpkin seeds are rich in zinc, which supports testosterone production. That hormone may decline with age, but it still matters a lot when it comes to maintaining strength. And then there's vitamin E, which acts as a protector. It shields your muscle cells from damage caused by oxidative stress, something that naturally builds up as we age. I stick to raw or dry roasted unsalted nuts. They're calorie dense, so I portion them out in little containers ready to grab when I'm hungry. What I love most is how simple it is. No chopping, no recipes, just nature's version of a muscle-supporting multivitamin in a bite-sized form.
8. Beans and legumes. The underrated powerhouses. To be honest, I used to think beans were just beans, nothing exciting, but I was wrong. They've become one of the most reliable, affordable, and surprisingly powerful foods in my routine. Black beans, lentils, chickpeas. I rotate between them, mixing them into soups, stews, or just tossing them into salads. Why do I swear by them now? Because beans don't just provide plant protein. They offer something even more important for aging bodies: resistant starch and gut-friendly fiber. Let me explain. As we age, our gut health affects almost everything. How we absorb nutrients, how much inflammation we carry, even how well our muscles recover. The fiber in beans feeds the good bacteria in your gut, and those good bacteria, in turn, help reduce systemic inflammation and improve nutrient absorption. In terms of protein, a single cup of cooked beans gives about 15 grams. Not bad at all. They also deliver iron, magnesium, potassium, minerals that directly support muscle function. Low iron, for instance, means your muscles don't get enough oxygen to perform or rebuild. I started slow. At first, half a cup a few times a week. Yes, I did get a little bloated, but I soaked dried beans overnight and used canned, low sodium versions, rinsed thoroughly, and that helped a lot. And here's something I didn't expect. The fiber helped stabilize my blood sugar, which meant fewer energy crashes and less muscle fatigue. That's no small thing. So now I don't underestimate beans. They're gentle builders, quiet helpers. Proof that strength doesn't always come from something flashy. It often comes from something humble. 9. Berries. Tiny fruits with big protection. If someone had told me years ago that berries could help protect muscle, I'd have raised an eyebrow. But now, they're a daily part of my life, and not just because they taste good. Blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, blackberries. I switch them up, fresh or frozen, 1 cup each day. These little fruits are packed with antioxidants, especially compounds called anthocyanins, which protect the delicate parts of your muscle cells, like the mitochondria, where your energy is made. As we age, these parts get damaged more easily. That damage slows us down, weakens our recovery, and leaves us vulnerable. What I noticed after a few weeks of adding berries to my meals, especially to my Greek yogurt at night, was that I bounced back faster after activity. Less soreness, more ease in movement. Strawberries are high in vitamin C, which helps the body produce collagen, a protein that supports not just skin, but the connective tissue around muscles. That tissue often gets weaker with age, making movement less stable and more prone to injury. And I'll be honest, berries also help satisfy my sweet tooth. Instead of reaching for cookies or chocolate, I now reach for a bowl of cold berries, sometimes with a few chopped nuts. It feels like a treat, but it's really a gift to my muscles. Frozen berries are just as nutritious as fresh, and often more affordable. So now I always have a bag in the freezer, ready for smoothies, oatmeal, or just a snack. Tiny fruits. Big results. That's been my experience.
10. Whey protein. My muscle insurance policy. I never thought I'd be the kind of person to drink a protein shake. It sounded like something for gym rats or athletes. But as I learned more about age-related muscle loss, I realized I needed something fast, reliable, and effective to support my recovery, especially after movement. That's where whey protein came in. Whey is a byproduct of dairy. It's what's left when milk is turned into cheese. But don't let that fool you. It's one of the most bioavailable, muscle-friendly proteins you can consume. What sets it apart is its high leucine content and how quickly your body absorbs it. After I go for a walk or do a bit of strength work, just body weight exercises or light dumbbells, I have a shake with 20 to 30 grams of whey protein, usually within 30 minutes. That timing matters. It gives your muscles exactly what they need right when they're asking for it. Whey also contains bioactive peptides, which help improve blood flow to your muscles and reduce inflammation. And it's high in cysteine, which helps your body produce glutathione, a powerful antioxidant that protects muscle cells from age-related damage. One study I read showed that seniors who took whey protein, even without much exercise, saw improvements in strength and balance. That was enough for me. Now, I keep a container of clean whey isolate, no added sugars, no artificial flavors, right on my kitchen counter. I mix it with water or almond milk. Sometimes I blend in berries and spinach for extra nutrients. It's become my insurance policy, a quiet helper that keeps me stronger, steadier, and more confident with each passing week. A small change today, a stronger tomorrow. Looking back, I wish someone had told me sooner that getting older doesn't have to mean getting weaker. I used to think strength was something you either had or you lost, but I've learned it's something you can rebuild quietly, steadily, and in ways that fit right into your life. Every food I've shared with you, lean beef, Greek yogurt, leafy greens, olive oil, eggs, fish, nuts, beans, berries, and whey protein, none of them are exotic. None require a special diet plan. They're just simple, real foods that speak the same language your body understands, even in your 60s, 70s, or 80s. What changed for me wasn't just what I ate, it was how I thought about my body. I stopped seeing it as something slowly falling apart and started treating it as something still capable of healing. It didn't happen overnight, but it happened. I went from struggling to rise from a chair to walking every morning with purpose, from feeling unsure in my steps to trusting my legs again. And I believe you can too. You don't need to overhaul your whole life. Just start with one small change, add one food, move a little each morning, be kind to your body, and be patient, because every time you choose to support your muscles, you're choosing to keep your independence a little longer, to stay active, to live with more confidence, to be there for the people who still count on you. So I'll leave you with this. What is one thing you can do today to take care of your strength? Maybe it's a handful of almonds. Maybe it's saying yes to that walk. Maybe it's believing it's not too late. If anything I've shared here has touched you, I'd love to hear your story. Feel free to leave a comment. I read every one of them. And if there's someone you care about who might need this message, share it with them. You might just help them take back their strength too. Thank you for spending this time with me. Until next time, stay strong and stay kind to yourself.